Welcome to the Nice Guy Show. And in this episode, we're going to be looking at how to last longer, how to satisfy her, and all of this is going to be revealed by an ex-porn star. And this is the things that men also get wrong when it comes to sex and intimacy. Guys, welcome to the Nice Guy Show. So whether you're single, whether you're dating, whether you're in a long-term relationships, if you want to step up as a man in the bedroom, this is a must watch because we're going to be covering what causes sexual performance anxiety, how to go on and on and on and on in the bedroom, if you get my drift, what women really crave from their men, and what they really cannot stand in the bedroom, and what she won't tell you. Also, why do men express their sexual desires? And tactical tips how to increase your sexual intelligence and much more. So I'm joined by Chuck and Ari, my co-host in the Nice Guy Show, and we have got a special guest, Erik Everhard. Erik, welcome to the Nice Guy Show.
Thanks for having me.
Erik, what are you known for?
Well, in my former profession, I was known as one of the best, most reliable, internationally famous adult film actors. Now, what I'm known for now is my ability to translate all of that into practical, actionable techniques, strategies for men so that they can be as confident as they want in the bedroom. And that means that they can do exactly that. They can control their mind in the moment. They know what to do so they can take action on it in the moment. They know how to last long enough, or at least how to choose when they want to ejaculate so that they can have more confidence, so that they can satisfy the woman, and on and on and on. So that's my backstory, and that's what brought me here.
So I've got loads of questions, and I'm sure that Chuck and Ari have got a question. So we've hung out many times before. So and these guys
many times.
Yes, we have.
Many times.
So for Ari and Chuck, guys, you probably got a lot of burning questions as well. So over to you.
Yeah, well, Erik, first of all, just thanks for joining us. Really glad to have you here. I think we're going to get a lot of, as Faisal was talking about all the things we're going to cover today, I'm like, this is going to be a 6-hour podcast. So hopefully we'll get to at least a few of them. But yeah, I guess the thing I want to know is like, how is your background as an adult film star? How did that translate into shifting into this new, coaching men? Well, how did that come about for you?
Man, that was a long journey. I would say it started in 2009.
Okay.
I took a relationship workshop, actually, that was being run by a gentleman who basically was a former pickup artist, and he was doing relationship workshops. And a friend of mine said, "Wow, this workshop was game changing. You got to go take this." And I did. It was great. And when I was there, a bunch of the attendees were discussing this thing I'd never heard of before called NLP, neuro linguistic programming. And I was like, well, what's this all about? And apparently the best school at the time was located up northern San Francisco in Marin County. So once I decided that I was going to go see what this was all about, for the next 2 years, I was traversing from LA to Marin County and basically unpacking the onion of who I was, what my traumas were, all sorts of different life things about myself. By the time that whole experience was done, I wasn't the same person anymore. And now I was thinking, well, okay, before I had this job that, I mean, when I first got into the adult business, I thought this was the holy grail of greatest jobs you could ever have, right?
Sure.
And then after about a decade, I got disillusioned with it. And now I'm sitting there asking myself, well, what do I want to do next with my life? And so when the NLP was finished, I still had those burning questions like, now, what is my purpose in life? What am I here to do? Because it wasn't porno anymore, even though I was still working as an actor, but I didn't know what it was going to be next, which then led me to going down the rabbit hole. Maybe some of you have gone down that rabbit hole of shamanic plant medicines. So then I did a whole bunch of ayahuasca, psilocybin ceremonies, trying to find out, okay, well, what is the next step? And then through all of that, I had a ex-girlfriend that mentioned off the cuff. She said, you should really think about writing a book. I don't know what you're doing in bed, but it's some next level shit. You need to write a book about this. And I never had that thought even cross through my mind that I could share this information because, after 15 years at that point in the business, I'd solidified myself as, alternating between number one and number two in the world. And I'd never failed, but I'd never asked myself, well, why was that? Why is it that I'm the only guy or one of the few guys at that time not on any performance enhancing drugs? I can do it at the highest level. Why? And so when I started writing the book, initially it was like, okay, let me just share this information because it's counterintuitive and it's not the kind of information that you get in a book, a traditional book, because most of it's always the same.
Yeah.
Somebody learned from somebody, they took a course on sexology, or they watched this, or they just learned it from watching pornos, which when you're an insider, now you see behind the curtain and you get to see the Wizard of Oz and you see what's real, what's not, what positions actually work, what are just pure fantasy or just show. You see what is a real performance versus what is also a manufactured and edited performance. I mean, just to give you an example, there was a number of times in my career where I stunted for another actor. And most people didn't know that even happened back then. But you'd have an actor that failed pretty much. They would call me in. They would literally take a close-up so that you couldn't see my face. All you saw was, the actual meat of the matter, so to speak. And I would do it, and they would just cut away to shots that they had of this guy's face. But it's my body finishing the job because he couldn't do it. So that's what led then to writing the book, putting that out there. And then it's just been an evolution from there because it's like, okay, well, how can I take this further? So then I started writing courses for men. Then I started doing one-to-one coaching, and it's just spiraled from there. But the initial thing was I just wanted to write the book and just get that information out there because I knew it didn't exist, not in a form that could actually help.
Sure. Right. Okay. Well, thanks. Yeah. What, just a curious follow-up question to that, because I think one of the things that you said a couple of times was, it's a performance, and is there a difference between performance and connection, in terms of like how sexual energy is sort of transmuted between two people? Or is that something that's sort of like, I guess I'm asking is like, do you find that when you're performing, it's different than when you're being there? Or is there a...
It depends what's going on. It depends what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can have connection. You can have purely performance. And part of what's useful is to be able to do both.
Gotcha.
And the reason I say that is when I'm working with guys, one of the things that I talk about ad nauseum is the greater ability you have to really bifurcate your ability to get an erection. Meaning, on one hand, we can lean into the psychological stimulus, which can also be connection, because I know a lot of guys, if they don't have an emotional connection, if they don't have a sense of safety, they cannot get an erection. That's one piece. Then there's also the piece which is purely physical, meaning I'm totally leaned in 100% into sensations and what I am feeling.
Yeah.
And when you have both at your disposal, that's what really makes you unstoppable. Because if you're just relying on connection, if it doesn't work for some reason, you've got nothing. And now you're blaming yourself. Maybe you're blaming the woman. You're blaming God. All you know is that it's not working. And it's like, well, that's only one pathway. Because when you learn, at least I learned working as an actor, if I was to rely on just a psychological stimulus, I would have had a job for 1 week. It's not reliable. We love it,
Sure.
but it's not reliable. It's really like you're going out there in the world and you're kind of listening to the wind and just hoping and praying, please let it work today. And if anything throws you off your game, suddenly you crumble. And the reason that you crumble is simply because you haven't learned that there is a way that you could simply get that erection through purely physical stimulus and ultimate focus. And it doesn't require anything else, but it's understanding that that even exists as a possibility.
Can you go into
because
that?
Then you're not asking, do I necessarily like her? You're not asking, is there some connection? You're not asking, am I afraid? You're not asking those other questions because those are all on the psychological end.
Gotcha.
Erik, can you describe how you train people in that, tuning into that physical stimulus and that focus?
Well, first of all, we got to find out what your metrics are. So that's something that I'll always take the guys through is I want to know what's your default state, because you have to know what your metrics are.
What does that mean?
How long does it take for you to get hard? If you were to get hard, how long is it until the blood flow leaves your penis if you were not touching it whatsoever? What is the quality of the erection? Is it one of those that is spongy and flexible, or is it like a piece of steel and absolutely has zero flex to it? Because these are all different. And having worked as an actor, sadly, seeing more naked men than any straight man should have ever seen in his life, right? You start to see how these are all normal, but they're all very different. And so you got to find out, okay, well, what are my metrics? Because now I know what I'm trying to achieve and I know what I'm capable of. And I'm not sitting there saying, well, this isn't working. Well, how do you know it's not working? What lets you know that what you're doing is not working? You have to have a sense of, how is this under a situation in which there is no anxiety present and there is no stress? Now, once we start to track those metrics, now we can say, okay, this is normal. This is not normal. We can now start to look even from a mental perspective and say, okay, this is a one-off, right? We can sort of park this as a one-off experience rather than, like a lot of guys do, they make it the whole experience. And then they're reliving that experience every time that they get into the bedroom. And so now it becomes that doom loop of, okay, this is what happened last time. And they're just future pacing the event. So we start there. Then we're looking at, okay, well, once we have that, what are the specific techniques that we're going to use to functionally get hard on our own? And then we're going to layer on sleight of hand stuff to calm our own neurology. Then we're going to lean into satisfying the woman. And then we're also going to lean into something that I call the hint of blood phenomenon, where we're going to create a positive feedback loop in our brains that is going to allow us to, rather than go into that doom spiral of, I hope, we're going to have an upward trajectory of possibility. So it's kind of the route that I go at it.
It's very scientific. It's clear you put a ton of thought into this. I mean, did you just develop this through your acting, through your career? Is that?
Yeah, like that was the thing. It's like when I wrote the first book, all I did was I said, what am I doing that works so goddamn well? That was the whole thing when I wrote that. I was like, back in the day, at that time it was, my sort of crowning performance achievement. Probably, in some ways, you could say it was definitely the craziest thing I ever did. But at the time, which was 2003, it was unheard of that anybody could even do it. And I use it as a teaching module and as a training tool for my clients. And that was the time that I performed in the town square of Budapest at high noon with tourists everywhere and police across the street. And it's committed to tape. Anyone can watch it. And I walk them through exactly what I did because there was a complete 100% thought process there every step of the way to see that I could see this through, because it was anxiety producing as hell. I mean,
yeah, you can see it takes a major focus, man.
but that was the thing. And I said, well, okay, here we are in this completely anxiety producing event.
Yeah.
And I have to build belief because there's, I mean, there's nobody alive, I don't think, that could be there and truly think 100% you're going to pull this off. Like I didn't. I go, oh my God. Like,
maybe I can, but
right.
Did you have any self-doubt at that moment? Did you have any points where you're thinking,
yeah, exactly. And you will. There's
of course,
the enormity of the situation. And that's why what I learned was, okay, I have to, and what I did was create pockets of belief, give myself something to believe in, and it needed to be verifiable because you can't kumbaya it. I mean, there is that sense of fake it till you make it in so many areas of life, but not with an erection. It just doesn't work that way. At least I never found a way to make it work that way. So you need to give yourself something to believe in, which starts with just getting a little bit of blood flow in some way, just so you can at least reset your nervous system and say, I'm not broken. And that was the big piece for me was, okay, well, if I can do something that builds belief just a little bit, we can spiral that up rather than the negative doom where normally it's like things don't work out and now we assume or we presuppose it's going to go horrible again. That's not useful.
were there any times that it didn't go well, like before? I know you said you had an incredible
success rate.
Success rate. But were there any times before you kind of like put all of this together?
Oh God,
what was it like? What was the Erik like before? I know at points that you weren't in the shape that you're in now. What was the Erik before? What was he? How was he handling situations of intimacy?
Well, so for example, I remember distinctly my worst scene ever, and I had so many takeaways from that. So many takeaways that to this day I think about because they were all mental. It was strategic, but they were especially mental. And it's a big thing that I've learned over the last 25 years. The greatest thing that you can be at any moment in time is humble. I can't tell you how many times I've witnessed, even in myself, and it might even be counterintuitive or a little sort of woo-woo, but anytime that I've seen an actor overextend their confidence it bit them in the ass. Because if we really think about, true confidence, and you guys would have experienced this, right? It's quiet. Someone who's really confident, they don't need to say nothing. It's like when you start really saying, "Oh man, this is going to be so great. Watch me." Da da da. Really, what's happening is you're showing off your insecurity in a strange way, and that would always translate to how your penis would work that day. And I remember specifically on that horrible scene. I had just returned from Europe, and the director in question asked me how I performed, and I was like, "Oh man, I crushed it. I was so good. I'm on top of my game." Meanwhile, I've been at this like 6 months, right? I was just so full of myself, like, "Oh, wait till you see what I'm going to do now for you this time." Oh no, and it was a disaster. I didn't like the girl. I couldn't get myself together. Things weren't working as good as I would like. So I went into my own doom spiral loop. I pulled it out at the end, but it was a humbling experience, because especially prior to us filming, I specifically said, "How great. Wait till you see what I do this time. It's going to be amazing." Yeah, da, da, da. It was a fucking disaster. I mean, I pulled it off by the skin of my teeth, but after that, I ate a big humble pie. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's good to hear that, because I know that some of the guys that are listening to this thinking they're going to have these thoughts in their head. Well, is it genetics? If he's been doing this for so long, it's probably because Erik's special. He's unique. He's got something unique. It's nothing. And then we haven't got that. That's probably what they're thinking. So what would you say to a guy like that?
No, it's got nothing to do with genetics. One of the most genetically gifted performers that I remember was a 50-50 guy at best. Probably shouldn't mention his name. I wouldn't like to disparage him, and he passed away a number of years ago. But I mean, my God, like 6'2", shredded with abs, huge dick. I mean, the guy had it all. Could never get it together mentally.
And by getting it together mentally, what do you mean? Like to be able to perform on the spot, or like?
Yeah, he was a guy that we would term a 50-50 guy. That was the
meaning
the slang that we would use, meaning 50% of the time you could be good, 50% of the time not. And that 50% of the time not may mean it was just a struggle the whole time and you pulled it out at the end. Or it could mean, which sometimes it did, you'd have to call someone like me to stunt, or you would just pack up the cameras and go home because you got nothing, right? Because, this is before more of the performance enhancing drugs started to come on the scene in the business. And so it certainly was not genetic, because if it was based on genetics, he should have been the king. And the issue was, if it started good, he was fine. But if anything kind of went wrong, or if just one little thing was out of place at the beginning, the inability to recover mentally. And that's really one of the biggest things. This was about 4 months ago, I was working with a private client, and we were going through his strategy and his structure, because his first time out of the gate with this girl, he didn't get it up, and they just packed it up. And lucky he got a second shot. And so I told him, okay, here's what we're going to do strategy-wise. Here's what you're going to focus on. And the date didn't go as well as he wanted initially, but then he salvaged it. And then he managed to get it up, and then they had a good time. And he walked away with that, with like a whole new perspective on confidence and what was possible. Because we can all have a less than stellar start. It's, well, can we salvage a win? out of it. And the more we can stack those wins, the more we look at any sort of loss or limitation as a one-off. Because, if we stack 50 wins and we have one kind of bad day, but we still pull it out, it wasn't great, but we still pull it out. Okay, it's kind of like the gym. We go to the gym, at least I do, and some days are better than others. But if you went and okay, we lifted something, well, something's better than nothing, right? We can still pull out the win.
Erik, can I ask you, a lot of our, the nice guys that we work with, we haven't even really been talking so much about nice guys. They're so focused on their performance, and whether they've pleased the woman, whether they've gotten her to orgasm, or even whether they've performed well by getting themselves to an orgasm, so that can be a real stuck point for them. And take them out of the moment. So part of what we, or at least I am coaching people on is, actually to get back to what do you want? What does the man want from sex? So they're not just in pleasing mode, so when you're talking about your approach, it seems like a lot of is about, did the woman get to an orgasm, which of course is important, but I'm wondering how we can use this with men who are people pleasers, who are nice guys. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, it's not about did the woman have an orgasm. Now, would we like that? Sure, but it's not what the ultimate goal is.
It's
the
not.
ultimate goal, how I look at it, is do we have sovereignty over ourselves? And that's just, are we able to control everything within ourselves, like control our mind and control our body? And that's kind of the main thing that I look at. I mean, my God, when I was a kid, I was the prototypical nice guy.
I was wondering that if you identify as a nice guy.
Oh my God, I was the worst. Oh, horrible. And learned a lot of lessons about that. When I track even sort of my evolution, and I'm going to butcher and paraphrase it probably horribly, but when I read Zan's book, the Alabaster Girl, he spoke about 3 levels of men, and that really resonated with me, where it's like the first order man is all about himself. So this is like you go into the sexual interaction and it's just let me get mine. Second level order of man is all about the woman. So now it's really just all people pleasing. And then you get to the third level where it's all about you, and in service of you, you're servicing her. Right? And even when we look at separating those erectile pathways, the psychological is all about you. What do you want to do? And following your desires in every second of the moment. It's totally not about her at all, because it has to be about you. If as soon as you're doing something that doesn't align with you and your values, now you're not tapping into that psychological erection at all. Like if we were to use oral sex as an example, I'll ask guys, I'll say, look, this is, in my opinion, the highest leverage move that you can make for a whole lot of reasons in the bedroom. However, caveat, if it's going to mess with your erection and you don't like it, you don't do it. Full stop. Because if you can't perform, if you can't get it up, nothing's going to happen. Right? I always look at it from the perspective of the woman being the decider of the sexual interaction, but the actual act of sex is 100% up to us as guys. Because it doesn't matter what she wants, right? It's like she might be some tigress in heat, and if we can't get it up, it's not happening. If we only last 30 seconds and she was looking for this, order of magnitude lay for 1 hour, it's not happening, right? So when I look at the people pleaser aspect of it, it's like, well, the aspect of it that we have to pay attention to is, are we pleasing ourselves, and are we doing what's aligned with us and our sort of personalities? And then are we able to control our mind and control our body? And that leads to absolutely everything. Because just as an example, a lot of times guys will abdicate the leadership in the bedroom to sort of please. And it's counterintuitive. Like, one of the things that I talk about a lot in terms of lasting longer is about leadership. And, there's a whole lot of rabbit holes we could go down with that. But as an example, I always say, like, if we were to test you, right? So it's like, if I said, Faisal, right? We're going to have you on Monday start with your girlfriend, and we're just going to time you in missionary. And then Tuesday, we're going to have her climb on cowgirl. We're going to time you. Wednesday, going to do spoon. We're going to time you. Thursday, doggy, time you. One of those, he's going to last way longer than one of the others. Just because of how the alignment will line up.
You're not watching me while I'm timing you, are you? Because that's
going to stalk you, Faisal.
Right.
But so if for example, if we knew,
come on, man, you could do better than that.
Do I should have one of those screens like they have in the NFL where they do the play-by-play announcing, right? I'll draw on it. I'll be like, oh, stop the play, Faisal. We got to move over here. But seriously, but you would find just with that exercise that we're going to get some data that's going to be useful, right? And a lot of times you may know, what, I only last 30 seconds in missionary, but man, I can go like a solid 7 minutes in doggy. And the girl will say, oh, just get on top of me, babe. And it's your choice point right there where you say, okay, am I leading or am I following? And more guys, especially the people pleasers, will say, okay, babe. And then they last 30 seconds and they beat themselves up about it, when it's like, in service of the whole experience, for her, for yourself. If wow, I could go solid 7 minutes in this, tell her, no, babe, we're starting with this. We'll get back to your thing later. But I'm in control of this because I'm in control of the act. Because if I'm not in control of the act, you're just in control of the decision. And you made the decision. You're here. We're doing this. But at that point, it's going to be over.
I can hear a lot of guys going, there's going to be some shame coming up, embarrassment coming up. Well, I've got to tell her what to do. What happened if she says no? What happened if she's like displeased by it? And then they're going to get into another spiral. It's like, whoa,
oh my God.
No, we're going to start this way. No, we're not. I'm horny this way, so fuck me that way. And the guy's going to go.
Well, then it would be just, what's your frame, right? Where's your leadership? Yeah. And I mean, that's where I always thought about it in terms of, like, even the movements in the bedroom. Like, where are you moving like a professional? And I got that from my time working as a massage therapist, right? Because that was the career path I was actually in. I was in massage therapy school before I did my first porn scene, right? And that was one of the big takeaways we had in massage therapy school. Like, someone's naked under a sheet, and you're literally doing origami with their legs to try to not have any privates be shown, and you're trying to make everybody move. And it was always drilled in, like, okay, if you're going to move their legs, you just move it like a professional. It's just like a doctor, like, hey, we're going from here, we're going to here. And there's an aspect of that I found that really translates to the bedroom. It's like, no, babe, we're going here. It's okay. It'll be
like
fine.
leading in a dance.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very much the same.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you do it from that place of like, oh yeah, we're just doing this. It's not a big deal. We're not making a big deal out of
Yeah.
it. I've never had someone not follow. You've never fought your doctor when he said, hey, move your knee over here, did you? We just go with it. We're just like, yeah, okay, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But he's not touching me like that. That's the thing. Yeah. Or is he?
Yeah.
There was this one doctor, right?
Did he have you get in stirrups,
Faisal?
Yeah.
He's like, why are you putting some oil on your hands for? It's my cough.
Oh, yes. Nothing like being over 40 when they get the Vaseline on. You're like, oh, Jesus. Okay, here we go.
Yeah. But you're really leading, though. And I think that's the thing you're talking about, Erik, is that leadership isn't a dominating kind of thing. It's more of like, come with me. Come on. This is what we're
it's
going
an
to do.
invitation.
It's an invitation. Yeah.
I never understood the whole, because I've seen it online so many times. It's like, oh, dominance. You got to be dominant. And I'm like, it's kind of, to me, it's a crock of shit. I mean, dominance is useful, but it's like salt in a soup.
Yeah.
If we pour so much of it in, well, okay, what do we got now? We just have salt.
Yeah, I was going to say the difference between like assertiveness and dominance. Assertiveness would be like, this is where we're going. Come on. Where dominance is like, you're coming with me, whether you want to or not.
And I've always looked at it like archetypes, because and maybe you guys would have more. For me, I mapped out 4 clear bedroom archetypes that I found. You have the tender lover, right? Where you're basically treating your woman almost like a China doll.
Mm-hmm.
You got the passionate seducer, where you're infusing the whole interaction with urgency. It's like, it's passion, it's urgent. You're kind of ripping their clothes off. Then you've got the archetype that I call that dominant power fucker, where it's like, yes, you're pulling her hair, you're spanking her, you're maybe restraining her hands in some fashion, like, true sort of quote unquote dominance. And then you've got the other archetype where I always called it the crazy spontaneous guy. Like, that's the guy that's, going to have sex on the balcony, or you're going to do it in the car. You're going to sneak her off into the bathroom. You're going to add this sense of spontaneity, danger, that we're doing something a little wrong. And we're using that to heighten arousal, not necessarily sensations, but we're using a sense of danger and exhilaration to heighten arousal there. And then it's like, okay, if you got those 4 archetypes, what are you leaning into in the bedroom in the moment? And you can combine them, but it's usually one of those 4 that you're kind of stepping into.
So speaking of that, I think it's so just kind of maybe you can even give me a little bit of coaching here, Erik. Like my wife and I think we have great sex. We have frequency quite a bit. I think where I struggle the most is with the sameness. It's kind of like, these 4 moves work, so let's do that kind of thing. And I'm just wondering, like, how do you introduce, or how do you keep things alive with like variety and and that type of thing? Because especially as an older guy who's been married for a while, it's really easy to just kind of fall into the rut of, I know that this is going to work, and she knows that this is going to work, and that's kind of, we can really get kind of stuck in that pattern. So I'm just curious if you had any thoughts on that.
Yeah. So there's a couple different thoughts, and this ties into a whole lot of stuff that we can actually go into if you want. I always find novelty is useful, but it's not the end game.
Mm-hmm.
Right? One of the things, and this is specifically in relation to oral sex, but it could be a principle that would work for a lot of other things. I always say, change for effect, not for novelty.
Okay.
So, if we want to do something, is it going to make things more effective? Or are we doing it just for some new kind of dopamine infused impetus? Because the problem, because I've seen some couples that they get on the rabbit hole of chasing novelty
Right.
specifically.
Yeah.
At some point you are going to hit a brick wall, and you can chase it so far that it becomes really counterproductive to the relationship.
Yeah.
Because
I can
I've
see
seen it
that.
where it's like people are like, okay, now we're going to open up our marriage. Now we're going to, we're going to do some
Mhm.
really crazy out there stuff,
Right.
because they're looking for that dopamine hit.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw it even in terms of my time in the adult business. My God, when I started in 98, things were pretty vanilla. By the time we rolled around by the end of 2008, 2010, stuff had gone crazy in the business, just because the consumer was getting numb to what we had produced. So every company was like, oh, we got to do it. It's got to be harder. It's got to be more intense, right? It was 2 guys on 1 girl. Now it's 5 guys. Now it's 10 guys. I mean, let's look at the influencers of the moment now. You got these girls out there that are touting, they slept with 1,000 dudes. I'm going to do 2,000. I mean, what next? Is it going to be, is it going to be Chicago Stadium? And it's like, hey, everybody takes a dip. I mean, at what point does this quest for, again, novelty and shock value become a fruitless endeavor? And that's so in the bedroom. That's one of the things I always look at is like, okay, what do we value first and foremost, right? I always think back to what is sexual satisfaction, and on my map of reality and how I break it down, we have 3 major things that constitute what true sexual satisfaction is. Sexual alignment being number 1, sexual chemistry being number 2, and then sexual compatibility being number 3. And it's that third one where we could play around with the novelty aspect. But the first 2 are pretty much fixed. And that can be good or that can be bad, right? And that really comes down to the choosing of the partner in the beginning. I mean, obviously you and your wife have been together quite a long time, right?
Yeah, 12 years.
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of when I look at any sort of sexual longevity, then usually the alignment piece and the chemistry piece is right. Because it's the same thing. Like if we were thinking about a restaurant, we can all enjoy, going out, getting dressed up, you going into some fancy tomahawk ribeye place and it's got all the accoutrements, but if we've got a really good hamburger every single day, we're usually pretty happy, right? Now if we're eating KFC every day, ooh, tough go, right? So that's sort of how I look at where does the novelty need to be added. And for me, it's always about sprinkling, and usually it starts with energy. That's kind of the first place, because that's the piece where you can step into a very different archetype that leads from the authentic part of you.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is, not to go off on a tangent, but if any of you recall the famous Italian actor Rocco Siffredi, who was, most people have heard of him because he's super famous in Italy, and he was one of the greatest actors of all time, known for being very, rough and dominant and all these things. And the thing was, when young actors would go and work for him as an actor, they all had a tendency to do what we would call the Rocco, meaning they would literally not do anything that aligned with their personality or anything authentic to them. They had seen him perform, and they were going to go step on the girl's head. They're doing all this crazy shit, which is nothing that they wanted to actually do, right?
Yeah.
And it never landed with the girl either. She just kind of looked at these guys like, what the fuck are you doing? Where if Rocco did it, she'd be like, oh, that was so great. Oh my God. Because it was an authentic, it was totally in alignment.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen it with guys that have, for example, a foot fetish. I don't. If I was to do something with a woman's feet, she'd be like, I can tell you don't like that. Like, what are you doing? But I've seen guys that were total feet guys. The woman doesn't even like her feet being touched, and she's all enamored with it because she's like, oh my God, this guy is so into it. Now she's into it. Yeah. So this is sort of where I would start with the archetype of what I'm stepping into and shifting my energy, because that's something I can bring different every night, and I can play with without needing to bring in something external. Because yes, you can bring in things, you can bring in toys, you can get into BDSM, you can, you could take it to the nth degree and start going to the swinger parties and things like that. But some of those do more damage than the good, and they do become less about being more effective in the connection and more effective in what's going on in the bedroom, and it just becomes novelty for novelty's sake. Like hanging really extra that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah. I like this idea of trying out and embodying different archetypes. That is a way that men can experiment and develop things in themselves. I mean, I think that's part of our coaching, if I could speak for the three of us, is that we're asking men who are nice guys, who are tend to be less confident, feel less masculine, to embody something new that they may have never embodied in their whole life, to be that leader. And I think you're describing ways that they can practice that I really like. And it's not about getting a special toy. It's about embodying a certain energy with your partner. So I really like that.
And it's about permission too. I think especially nice guys, like I know even myself, like there's a big aspect of you want permission from the woman, but more often it's actually you need to give permission to yourself. I mean, a lot of times, like even in the bedroom, I'll ask guys like, what is the trigger that needs to happen to give yourself permission? What do you need to key off of that can let you know, okay, it's safe enough for me to do whatever it is that I want to do? Because usually it's all been available beforehand, especially with nice guys.
It's a great question. I think one of the places nice guys I work with get stuck is they don't even know what they like. They don't know what. It's not necessarily that they've been burying some thing they like in sex. They actually just have never experimented. And so part of their journey is to experiment and try things out.
And they're quite cautious as well, aren't they? They're very cautious. They play it like extending onto that. A lot of the nice guys are tending to play it very safe. They're always referring to her as like, what is it she wants? Is this going to make her happy? Because if I tell her what I want, but she won't like it, then it's better than me. I stay silent. So there's always a cross reference of
fear of rejection.
It approving or not? Yes, is it approved or not? Or am I going to get disapproved? Or is she going to think ill of me, shame me for it, or emasculate me for it? Yeah. What's wrong? Why do you want like that? That's disgusting.
Right.
So there's always that guy. He's constantly
Get that monkey
cautious. Out of here. So he's constantly hyper vigilant, always constantly on alert to think, is this going to get me rejected? Is this going to be disapproved? Is this going to be shameful? And then the other thing that comes out with a lot of guys is that comparison. Am I going to be as good as maybe she's had better?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, the comparison thing is one of the worst things. I mean, with that, I always tell guys, first of all, you just have to realize the game that you're playing, right? Which is like she's here with you right now. And that's a choice, right? Because we're coming back to the decision aspect. You've got a woman who's naked in bed with you. She's choosing this, right? And so the biggest thing with the comparison aspect, especially how it can affect your performance, you have to stay in your lane. You have to play to your strengths, and you have to do the things that you love. And that's really what it comes down to.
What does staying in your lane mean?
So I'll give you an example where I've seen this, like where you can take it to the furthest degree of it, right? In terms of the where comparison can go. I've been there before where like you will have any sort of more group sex dynamic, and the guy who's staying in his lane and he's just focused on what is he feeling and what is he doing is the guy that is winning the whole show. Everybody that is paying attention to how's that other guy doing is he's doing this, oh he's doing that. They're not focused on their own body because now they're in their head. They're trapped in their head. Now they don't perform because they're not staying in their lane. They're paying attention to everybody else's lane. It's like driving. It's like, well, why are you looking at your neighbor? Why do you care what the car 2 lanes over is doing? Like if you just stay driving your car, well, that's our best way forward, right? And it's the same thing in the bedroom. It's like, well, I got the woman here. I'm just going to focus on her, right? I'm going to focus on what I'm feeling. I'm going to focus on what I'm doing. It's going to be all about my experience. I'm not going to worry about anybody else's experience. And that's where I see that, it can be in a group dynamic, but it can also be in your own mental space where now you're worried about like, oh, her ex, who cares?
Yeah.
Like he's the ex, like
he's not the one right there right now.
What good thing comes to us from having the experience of worrying about somebody else?
And I think, you said about she's choosing you. And I think there is the I guess the grave worry for a lot of the guys is that she also has the power to unchoose me. And is in that choice, will I get unchosen? And then the ego's kicking in, because as you were talking about, as you were sharing some aspects of it, I could see like how the ego would be like, am I as good? Am I performing well? Are my stats good? Are my numbers good? Am I like the man? She will say, oh my gosh, he was amazing at bed. Or am I the guy? She'll say to her friends, you know what? He was like this. And I think that's where the guys are really losing themselves, going crazy, overthinking, ruminating, is that part of them thinking, will she unchoose me?
Yeah, I can understand that. But the piece there is really knowing what you're bringing to the table, especially in terms of skills and abilities. Because no matter whether she stays, whether she goes, like your value and what you are capable of. And I think that's the much bigger piece, right? Like when you know what to do, how to do it, and you can, sort of read and decode, generally speaking, most women, their bodies all operate the same way when we're looking at it from a 30,000 foot perspective, right? So when you understand that, you're like, okay, I know how to get off, 85% of these women. And yes, she could unchoose me, but why would she? and we're confident in what we can do and what we can bring to the table. And that is just having practiced the skill sets, practice the techniques, knowing what you're doing and getting good. It's like, even if we were looking at, someone that shoots 3-pointers, you can get to the point you shoot enough three-point free throws, what your stats are. Like, nobody's taking that away from you. If you sat there and you sink, 19 out of 20 free throws, and someone's like, "Oh, you suck at free throws." Yeah, okay, sure, whatever. Like, you're not even bothered by it at that point because you've got the factual evidence.
So if the guys have it, say, not very confident history about their intimate life, and they realize that, well, I've been maybe watching too much porn and it's numbing me off, and then I've been not performing to the best I could have been, and they've just been in this spiral, and they're like, okay, I'm not making any effort here. For that guy who's thinking, well, my life, it could be a lot better, and he knows it could be a lot better, what's the kind of like things that he needs to start looking into to start improving his bedroom games?
Oh, well, first and foremost, it's like, understand the map of the territory, right? Know what you're dealing with in terms of techniques, in terms of positions. Just understand what's going to work, understand the arousal triggers, and then just understand your own body, right? Because part of it and part of being successful from there is the confidence that, okay, you're going into the situation, you're going to be able to get it up. You're not worried about that. And if there's any issue, you're going to be able to overcome it. Okay, I've got these different techniques. If maybe today's I'm really sensitive and I got a hair trigger, I can manage that. Okay, great. So now we've got the first two things under control as best we can. We know we're going to be able to get it up. We know we're going to be able to last. We've mapped the territory. We understand what techniques we're going to employ, and we know what's likely going to work. So after that, it's like, okay, well, we feel pretty good about ourselves, at least in terms of in that sexual interaction. And then it's iterating, and it's just getting better. I mean, there's only so much that you can get from a textbook or from even, training with anybody. At some point, it's going to be, well, putting that experience and learning, okay, well, I did this with Susie. This is how her body responded. I did the same thing with Jane. It was 90% the same, and there was this 10% that was different. Okay, what is that? And then just iterating from there.
Erik, have you got? I really like the internal world, and I like the map as well. Have you worked with guys? I mean, can you give us an example of some of the guys that you have worked with where they were really hopeless, and what was like the transformation by the end of it? Where did they get to? And
I remember one client who came to me, and it was interesting because he was really suffering from the premature ejaculation piece, right? And it had been, I think at that point, it had been going on for almost a year that he had been dealing with it, where he was like 30 seconds a minute kind of guy. And now it was really getting into his head because he was in a new relationship. They were getting engaged, and he could tell that even though she said things were fine, he could tell that they weren't necessarily fine. And that started to bleed into all different areas too, because it's like, okay, well, he's worried about having sex. He's not feeling masculine and confident when it's going to happen, because in the back of his head, well, what if I only, right, last, da 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 da, or what if it happens the same as last time, da 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 da. And that then was also leading into a little bit of sometimes performance anxiety, because he's already getting into the interaction and he's thinking, well, I'm only going to last 30 seconds. And then he's getting fearful about that. And now he's struggling to get it up, so that the things start to compound. And so we got him in about 3 weeks to a month. We got him over 20 minutes. And I remember, cause we talked, him and I, and his girlfriend later confided in him. She goes, thank God you got that together, because I didn't think this was going to last. And he was really grateful, because he knew intuitively. He's like, yeah, she says it's okay, but it's not. And he just had that sixth sense that if I don't manage this in some way, she might leave. And
I
so,
think that's the scary part. I think that's the
Yeah.
scary part, when she's saying,
She's like,
yeah,
it's
it's
fine.
okay, I really like it, but you kind of like have this gut feelings like, there's it's not really okay. But I suppose it's the guy did become active and actually deal with the situation as well. So guys, we've got another 5 minutes, and we'll start wrapping up as well.
Can
So let's take
I
a
got
couple of
I got one
rapid questions.
question
Let's go
that's
for
been
it.
burning
Rapid
question.
fire.
I've been thinking, okay,
Let's do it.
I don't know if you can answer this in an amount of time we have here, but
Sure.
what about the thing that I work with a lot of guys on is their wife's not actually, or their partner's not actually interested in sex. What can a guy do in a situation like that?
Well,
or is that
so real short one. I'd be looking, couple things. I'd be looking, has it always been this way? What was the frequency from the beginning of the relationship? What's he done to maintain his level of attraction? And, physically speaking. And then what kind of job is he doing when he was in there to get the buy-in?
I mean, can you explain that a little bit more?
So, and there's obviously a lot of different reasons, but for me, I always sort of boiled it down to 3. So, and I'd be curious your take on this as well with all your guys' experience, but for me, it always came down to 3. So I always found there was 3 main reasons that a girl is having sex with you. She wants to have your baby, meaning she saw you and she said, God damn, that 6'4" chiseled jawline, look at him, he's going to make great children. Check mark, right? Then you have the other type of woman where she wants access to your resources. So she's like, wow, this guy's got status like hell. I mean, look at that car. Look at the, he goes to all the parties. Oh, this is going to be great, right? So then she's doing it because she wants that experience. And then you have the other girl where she wants the orgasms. And so she's having sex with you because she wants to feel good. And so then we start saying, okay, well, if the desire isn't there, have we not done a good enough job to get her addicted to the feeling and the experience? Or have we let ourselves go in some fashion to where the physical based attraction has gone away? Or have we lessened the polarity to such a degree that now she doesn't see us as masculine and she's not feeling feminine, and we've moved towards this androgynous middle ground where it's like we just it's only Netflix and no chill, right? Because there's no true separation between who's the man and who's the woman. It's become too muddy for there to be a spark of attraction.
Those 3 types sound so transactional. What happened to all that romance and love?
The same thing.
That's the kind of stuff that women say to us. Is like, there's no romance in that. There's no love in that. It sounds very transactional.
Okay.
Well, that's what I see, right? It's like, it's like if she's having sex, it's usually one of those 3 reasons. At least that's what I've mapped. Maybe you guys see something different, but
I have a question. I've been wanting to ask. We did an episode on discouraging nice guys from watching porn. That it's problematic, and which I can relate to, and I stopped watching porn because I didn't feel it was good for me. What's your opinion about it? Is there a healthy use of porn?
So if you ask me where does porn rank, for me it skews net negative. Is it a negative 10? No. Probably in my estimation about a negative 2, negative 3. Now, the only place where I think it would have any value, and this is something that my my spiritual advisor talks about quite a lot, in terms of porn being its own egregor, right? It's its own sort of energetic system. And if you start to look at it from that perspective, what does it do? It just takes energy. That's what it does. It sucks energy from all of us, right? If we're watching it. So for the average guy, that's a negative, right? For the guy that needs that energy to be out of his system so that he's not raping some girl on the street corner, then that's the part where it's still sucking that energy. And, you know, some of those people aren't a menace to society because of that. But in general, I would say, yeah, it skews net negative for the reasons that when you're on the inside, you understand what's going on, and most people just don't. You know, like I can, because I remember when I was a kid and I used to watch a lot of porno when I was young, and you see this glamorous outside, but you don't actually know what's going on the inside. And it was funny, like once I got into the business, I never watched it ever again. It was like, for me, that was like the moment where I was like, oh, damn, okay.
You know how the sausage is made. Yeah.
Well, it's you just understand the whole thing. I mean, even I work with clients, and they'll ask me about some position, and I'm like, my God, you don't want to do that. It's horrible. Right. But they see it and they think, oh, because it looks, remember, you have to understand, porn is not education. It is entertainment, and it is visual entertainment, meaning that we're going to do whatever is the craziest thing in the most acrobatic of positions to make this product sell more. None of that means it's going to feel good. None of it means you're going to be capable of doing it. I mean, my God, I remember there would be times, and this is what people that are just watching it don't see, but we're there. I remember some moments where it's almost like being in an MMA ring, right? Like, you know, you got the blue corner, you got the red corner, and it's like, I'm in the blue corner, girl is in the red corner, right? And the director is almost like the referee. And it's like, he wants us to do some asinine, absolutely painful, horrific position. And her and me both know this sucks. And we're both looking at each other like, you ready? Yeah, I'm ready. Okay. And it's like, action. Hey, let's go do this. Right. And we're counting down. Like, it's like T minus the pain. Like, okay, we got 3 more minutes. I got to hold this. Like, let's keep it going. Let me see if I can do this. And the 3 minutes, thank God, over. Right. The guy at home is like, oh man, that looks so good. Let's add some novelty in the spice. Like, let's do this crazy thing. And I'm like, no, don't. It's miserable. But yeah, but people don't see it. Right. So, that's why I come back to the same thing where it's like, our main thing should be how effective we are in the bedroom. You know, there are positions that I think are absolutely a waste of time, because they either don't help us to last longer, or they don't maximize clitoral contact. They're not doing anything functional. So it's like the Kama Sutra is kind of one of the best representations of that. Like I would often say, like 1,001 positions, 4 useful ones.
Right, I'm burning my book. That's what I was thinking. I was like, that's it.
Because we're doing things that's like, this isn't really making it a better, more pleasurable experience for anybody.
It's again, it's all performance, isn't it?
Yeah.
It appeals to the ego. It appeals to the ego. It's like
all
it's
ego.
big, it's grand, it's like amazing. Look at this. So yeah, she's gonna be really impressed by if I do these 4,000 positions or something like that. So
yeah, if I can do this yoga pose and put my ankle behind my head and stimulate her clit at the same time, this is gonna.
I tried that. It doesn't work. Yeah, it's no good. You got to crap. Erik, it's been a pleasure. I know we're gonna wrap up. It's been a pleasure. I love the conversation. Maybe we should have a part 2 of this as well.
Should.
What do you reckon, guys?
This has been really good,
ready.
Erik. I appreciate
Let's do it.
Coming on.
Round 2.
Round 2. Yeah.
Round 2. Yeah.
We'll circulate
we
quicker this time,
we can get into porn star names. Like, how did you come up with Erik Everhard? I'm pretty sure I know, but like.
Oh, I didn't even name myself.
Oh, you didn't?
No, the true story. The resident drug dealer at our gym was the one that named me.
Oh, really?
Wow, this is definitely a second episode that you're going to watch this, right? Coming soon, right?
Yes,
Erik, Erik, how can they find you apart from the obvious website? How can they get hold of you?
Yeah, if they just go, they can just get their bedroom score. Go to bedroomscore.com. It's just 16 questions. You'll see how you measure up in the bedroom, and then you'll be able to see what is it that needs to shift, and then how I can help you make that transition.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much. Thanks, Chuck. Thanks, Ari. Erik.
Thank you, guys.
Pleasure.
Absolutely.
And make sure you do subscribe to this channel as well, because there's going to be part 2 of this as well. And please do share this with anyone else who you think can benefit with his wisdom from Erik and all the questions that we've asked, because there are many more burning questions that we have. And we really want to make sure that we can really help you in all aspects of your life, from the bedroom, mentally, physically, and just help you to become more of an integrated man. So it's been a pleasure. Hope you enjoyed the Nice Guy Show, and we'll see you on the next one.